Hi, Emily.
Hey, Christiana.
Dear friends, we're together for the holidays. Actually, what we really did was completely rearrange my living room so that we can do a little holiday special for you today. We're going to be doing 5 predictions for 2022 and then 5 reflections on 2021. So we each have a list. We've checked it twice. We've both been naughty and we've both been nice. So basically,
Nobody knows what will happen.
Nobody knows what's going to happen today. We literally came up with this idea 2 days ago. We have champagne. So cheers to all of our friends. Thank you for a tremendous 10 years of Visionality and a really good 2021. And here's hoping 2022 is just as great.
Yes.
Cheers. Cheers.
Now,
we can do this on work hours because we're the bosses.
Exactly. Now, we do not know what's on each other's lists.
No.
So these are completely independent, 5 predictions, 5 reflections, and we have a hunch that they're going to be similar.
Yes. So let's go ahead and start with reflections on 2021. I'll let you do one first.
My first reflection on both Visionality's 2021, but also our clients' year was basics.
Mm-hmm.
Double down on the basics. The foundation of your business or your organization is what enabled us to survive the pandemic, and we've seen that continually bringing that to the forefront of our clients' work. Nail the basics. You don't get sparkle shiny stuff until you nail the basics, and the basics help you do all the things more efficiently and all those things.
Very good. That was not one of mine. I know. One of my reflections for 2021 was, it literally says, damn, that was hard. I don't think we were expecting 2021 to be as hard as 2020 was, and it ended up being just as hard, if not harder, from the standpoint of, and you might have this in your notes too, but burnout was still very severe on our team. Burnout with our clients was still very severe. It was an incredibly hard year. I think it was May and June, we thought we were getting out of this, and like it felt really good, and like there was hope on the horizon, and we started hanging out with people again. And then by end of July, mid-July, like it just went downhill. And so like the fact that we've had like massive waves of just like uncertainty again over and over, I think has been really hard.
Well, and the finish line keeps moving.
Yeah, and we don't know where it is yet.
Yeah.
The fact that we're even in this room together, I think, is awesome. And that's like a huge step that we wouldn't have been able to do this summer.
Right, exactly.
Or last year.
Exactly.
So I'll take this one.
Yeah. So to piggyback on that, my second reflection is doing the right thing is almost never doing the easy thing. And us, over our whole lives and certainly our careers, and especially the last 2 years, we have had to do so many hard things. But the hard things are the right things. And so my big reflection is, lean into the hard things, make the hard choices when you need to. And just, especially again, if your basics are nailed, the hard things are going to be easier.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that.
Thanks.
It's almost like a palm reading from the standpoint of like, it's big enough that everybody can like see themselves in it, but it's also specific enough that it's solid.
Well, and what I wrote in my write-up about doing the hard thing was really about how we leaned in to social justice.
Okay.
And how I had run our company for 8 years as politically neutral. Mm-hmm. And you really pushed us to lean in to social justice and to use our sphere of influence, the tiny itty bitty piece of the world that we control, to advocate for others. And, I had always been so afraid that, if we took a stand on anything, we would lose clients and that wouldn't be good for our team. And upon further reflection, I don't want to work with somebody who doesn't know that Black Lives Matter and who doesn't believe that women or marginalized genders should earn the same as men. And so it's just been so beautiful. We made that hard decision to say, we're gonna step up and we're gonna do the right thing. And then to watch like how our new clients have just like, not only are they perfect fits for our work, but they're perfect fits for our values. And I just love that. It makes, we already do such cool work, but it just makes it so much more rewarding.
Yeah. I think like one of the interesting parts about like the DEIJ work that we've been doing this year, and you know, and it's really important to call out the elephant in the room, even though the elephant in the room's my tree right now. But the other elephant in the room is that we're both white women. And our team is primarily white. And that is something that even though we do DEIJ work, it is something that we acknowledge. It is something that we are striving to work on. One of the things that we have actually started to work on as part of this work is thriving wage work within the nonprofit sector. So often like nonprofits just use the excuse of like, well, there just aren't people of color or like people applying for these jobs. It's like, well, because you're not paying anybody, you're paying people poverty wages. And so we think that that is one way that we can actually make some work in that sector. And that's actually one of my reflections from 2021 is the thriving wage work that we have been doing. You know, we're obviously not there yet, but you know, for better or worse, we are seeing this conversation happen. Mm-hmm. So huge kudos to the executive director roundtable for your like, take this job and shove it economy, you know, roundtable discussion the other week. And even I think the director of development roundtable discussion today around just building company culture that allows companies to or organizations to thrive and actually attract really good talent. That to me is like probably one of the biggest like reflections within 2021 and DEIJ work is like people, for better or worse, like organizations are starting to feel like a actual like bottom line crunch that they weren't feeling before. And how wonderful is that they're finally feeling the pressure to do the right thing.
Yeah, that was one of my reflections was sometimes you just got to leap. So for up until now, offering health benefits was too expensive for our team. And honestly, like too expensive and too scary and too complicated and like so many hurdles to get over. And we were just, you know, growing our company and whatever. And so again, really leaning into our mission, vision, values, and then really settling in to the fact that this will make us a better company. It's expensive. Mm-hmm. However, offering health benefits was the thing we needed to do to attract top talent. And right now it's hard to attract any talent, let alone the top talent. So number one, having that in the job description was critical to us hiring the perfect people. Number two, one of our company values is to have thriving employees, and employees who have health insurance are thriving. It's one step closer to thriving, to not have to worry about your health. And by the way, healthy employees like do good work and stuff. Like if you're not worried about going to the doctor,
it's weird, huh?
Yeah.
Or when your insurance doesn't cost $600 a month and it's being subsidized by your employer.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's also money in pocket.
Yeah. And for me as the business owner, like I'm the numbers person, I'm the budget person. And we were so proud that at the beginning of this year, everyone got a 10% raise. Mm-hmm. We were so proud of that. And we worked really hard to make that a reality.
Yeah.
And instead of giving that same, you know, chunk of a raise, we are giving that raise in the form of health benefits. And as a business owner, what's really cool is that's actually pre-tax money, depending on how you set it up. So we found a way to give the same value to our employees of that raise. And it's actually in line with our tax strategy as a company. And so, you know, no one believes me when I say your employees will do better work if you leave them alone, let them just do their jobs, like not, you know, whatever. But like there really are dollars and cents savings to leaping on some big things and investing in your team. And so
that's funny because of course, like healthcare was one of my reflections for 2021. Mm-hmm. So when I first started with Visionality, I pointed out that there weren't healthcare benefits. And I pointed out that I was going to be paying, I don't mind sharing this number, $550 a month for my healthcare. You know, I was grateful for the American affordability, the ACA. I'm grateful for ACA because it allowed me the flexibility to get a job that I wanted. However, there was a cost with that. And having come from other employers that like had completely covered health benefits, I also just told Emily that like any offer she gave me, I was going to have about over $5,000 less coming into my pocket at the end of the day. So even if she offered me, I'm just going to throw round numbers. If she offered me $50,000, which is not what I was offered, but like I would be taking home less than 45 based on having to pay for my insurance. And so every time we started to have this conversation around healthcare, like Visionality would always say like, well, we're working on it. We're working on it. And we finally and this is one of the things I'm grateful for having worked here with Emily, is I told Emily that we have to stop saying that we're going to do it and actually do it. And sometimes those are hard conversations to have with your boss, because at the end of the day, she writes my paycheck. She could tell me she no longer wants to write my paycheck anymore. And I could be a pain in the ass sometimes, I get it. But I think that like this was one of those conversations where it's just like, we have to stop kicking the can down the road and actually do this. And if we actually want to say that this is the type of company we are and the type of values that we hold, that we actually have to start walking the walk versus just talking the talk.
It's
so,
time.
Yeah. And I'm really proud of you for doing that, because it was scary and it is costing us money. But at the end of the day, it's like, we're technically also giving our employees a raise because they're not having to pay. So it's like a double win. They get health insurance and they're technically getting a raise because the money that they would have been spending on health insurance is now going into their checking account.
And we get to do it on pre-tax dollars.
And we get to save money. Like it's like the biggest like win in the book.
No, I feel like we're getting away with something.
I know. So it's like, that was one of my big reflections for 2021, is the fact that we actually are getting health insurance across the finish line. And thank you for listening to me this entire time, like, because I have been harping on this for 2 years. And the fact that it was finally this, like, we have to do this, like, and the fact that we even stopped our hiring process. We were going to hire a project coordinator. We literally stopped the process, even though it was painful to our team, because our team said, getting the health benefits taken care of before we hire somebody is going to be way more important. And we just wanted to make sure we had our numbers lined up and that we could say confidently, we offer healthcare, because it got us a completely different pool of candidates too, which is a really great thing. Yeah.
So cool.
Good job. This one.
Well, and that goes into another one of my reflections, because we have a strong mission, vision, values statement, every day we have decisions that we get to make. And because we have agreement on those mission, vision, values, when there's a decision that can take us just a tiny step closer to being in alignment with our mission, vision, values, it makes those hard decisions a lot easier, because you're taking a step forward. And I struggle with analysis paralysis, but also like wanting to be done already. So of course, when I finally was like, yes, we're doing health insurance, of course I wanted to offer like 100% of a platinum package. That's not reasonable for us right now. And so, taking the pressure off being done and just put one foot in front of the other and just start taking steps towards your mission, vision, values. And it's shocking how quickly it adds up, but they're just little tiny steps instead of holding back until you can do your ideal solution.
And I think that's where a lot of people get hung up generally though, right? Is like, they want to have the end product. They want to have it completely taken care of. They want to completely solve the problem. And you don't have to solve the problem in order to be successful. Like, you can keep working towards like what the goal is, but also recognize that this work should never be done. It'll always be continuing. No, good job.
Thanks. Good job.
Was that mine or was that yours?
I think it was both of ours.
Okay, I'll go next then.
Okay.
Dude, we pivoted a company in a pandemic. Yes. So when I came on, I told Emily that I don't do the type of work that Visionality was doing, mostly because I'm terrible at it. And I was like, if you want to hire me, don't hire me for this work, because this is not what you want me to do. I will accidentally burn the company to the ground. And I said, I really want Visionality to pivot into becoming a consulting firm, like that works with like small to medium-sized nonprofits that are either like in a phase of growth or a phase of decline. Like, we went through this whole like nonprofit growth like spreadsheet and like this whole like chart to help us define like what the trademarks of these types of nonprofits were. And we really defined like what our niche was and the type of work that we were going to be doing for these organizations. And it was immensely helpful in helping us figure out and pivot into like the type of company we wanted to become. And if anything, the pandemic like almost helped us accelerate that timeline, because everything was so up in the air, so instead of like struggling to hold on to everything that was coming our way, it was we actually were thoughtful in what types of work we were going to take. We screwed up a few times, don't get me wrong. We totally took some contracts we shouldn't have taken, but we learned.
But we're quick learners.
We're very quick
And
learners.
so I feel like that's one of the reasons we're such a successful team is
Yeah.
we fail fast. We try lots of different things. We fail fast and we learn quickly.
Yeah.
And so then it makes it, again, you're not getting on step one, you're not getting to the end point,
Right.
but you're just making lots of steps and eventually working your way closer. Oh,
We're gonna bring Moose into this. This is Moose.
hi, Moose. All right.
What was your next one? I think this is our last reflections, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My last one, everyone says life is short.
Mm-hmm.
And I have switched that to be life is long.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to build it in a way that makes your heart happy. And that, for me is building a company, building a job that I love showing up to every day. But also, as a company, we really leaned in to work-life balance, personal growth, improving quality of life, identifying what self-care is for each of us, making it okay to not be okay or to take a mental health day,
Mhm.
and again, those are expensive. And I would rather have an employee take a day off because they're, something happened and then come back the next day refreshed and ready to go than just like creep through the day and not do great work or even make mistakes. It's actually good for business.
Yeah.
To do those things.
Yeah. I think just like, if you want to look at it from like the not cute side of, or the not fuzzy side of that, just like when people are coming into the office, they're always going to be their most productive selves if we give them the space to go recover. And I think that that's a really important thing that a lot of people don't understand. It's like the old mindset of leadership where like you just squeeze people and squeeze and squeeze and squeeze. Whereas like if you're squeezing it like a tired orange, you're not going to get as much juice out of it as like squeezing a fresh orange. And I think that that's like one of the things that we've leaned into this year is like, how do we keep our team as fresh as we can so that they can show up and give 100% every single day. And that's important. And it's been working really, really well. And I think also just our policy of mental health days this year has been incredibly helpful. And the policy that we have of kicking people out of the office has been incredibly helpful because sometimes like your colleagues can catch that you are burnt out before you can. And so I know that every person that has worked on this team has been forced out of the office at some point this year, and by a colleague, which is fine. And I think that it's a healthy relationship to have when you can feel safe enough to tell your colleague that you think they need a break and that you're willing to step in to help them do that. Yeah, I think that's a really kind of big part of that. Then I would just say like my final reflection on 2021 is just how incredible of a team we have built and how incredible of a culture we have built in that process too. And that's something I'm so still beside myself. Like I remember the beginning of this year, Emily and I were doing some co-leadership work just to kind of grow as leaders together. And I remember saying that like, I'm not sure how to lead when we're not in like deep crisis. And this year was like semi-crisis. It wasn't deep crisis. But it's like we have such an open relationship with our team, and we have, I know, sweetheart, I know,
and with you,
we have such an honest relationship with our team, and I love that we don't just manage our team, but our team also manages us, and I think that that's a really important distinction that so many organizations don't get to. I say it all the time, and I'll say it again. If we had an office, I'd be willing to take the trash out if that's what needed to get done. And that's kind of how the rest of our team functions too. And it's finding the right people to kind of fit on that team. And we just hired a new project coordinator, and I know that she is also like 110% going to fit into that culture. But I also think it's just so important to just like being a functional, high capacity team. It's like, I almost don't care like what the work is that we do, so long as the team that I'm doing it with like really cares about each other and really leans in to like making sure that we look out for each other. But also like the team building work that we've done. So we've been working with a coach all year to kind of help. So we get these modules every 2 weeks that we have team discussions on, and it's guided of like, what is your one big thing? Like, what do you want to be doing? How do you want to grow? What's in your way? What are you doing to stop yourself? How do your teammates perceive like this effort as well? And so I just think that, it's been such a huge process for us. And I think it's been so good in helping us kind of establish this amazing rapport with one another, but also be one of like the most high functioning, high performing teams I've ever been on.
And it makes work more fun.
It makes work a lot more fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And life's long, man.
Life's long.
I like to have fun.
Yeah. Good job.
Good job.
Okay, reflections. We nailed those.
Nailed it.
Okay. We're going to go into predictions for 2022. What's your first prediction? We're going to go industry predictions. Well, I'm going to go industry predictions. I think I have one company prediction, but I do have mostly industry predictions.
Mine are all industry. We will continue to see work from home. That's it.
Yeah, that was easy. I just love the transition to work from home for the world. It's been so funny.
Yeah, and so Visionality has been work from home for 10 years. And so it was, and during the pandemic, we really up-leveled our work from home game.
Oh yeah.
And like our team is more connected than ever. Even though we've been doing this for a long time, we really leaned into it in some very fun ways. And I mean, that speaks to company culture and running a connected team when you're physically distant, but to even, issuing second monitors, to like the foundation, like, yes, there's the social side of being physically distant, but then to what are the realities of working from home that need to be addressed because they're just logistical, or even habits to create healthy boundaries around working from home.
Absolutely. And I hope that more organizations, and I will be the first to admit that working from home is not for everybody. So like, as we go through our interview process, we make it very clear that if it's not for you, don't apply with us, because we don't want to force people into this situation. I know plenty of people who thrive in an office, and making sure that you are in an environment that works for you is really important, regardless of what your career is. And we happen to be a complete remote organization, and so we make sure that, like, as we hire people, that we know that they know that we are a completely remote organization, that they're okay and they actually have the skill set and the mindset to do that.
Yeah.
My first prediction for 2022 is going to be industry based, and it is more video fundraising. So we started this Building Forward series in like the fall, August.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And so, but it's been it's been super fun for us. B, people really get an idea of who we are, what we do, and how we do it. And are you done? Are we done now, Moose? Oh. But it also allows people to kind of like engage with our content on their time when they're ready. And so I think that as organizations start to go into 2022, I actually want to see, and I think we will see, more video fundraising and more video appeals. This is going to be so much more personal than doing a letter, because you could say the donor's name. You could say something about the donor, like whether you interacted with them at an event this past year or saw them like at lunch. You get an opportunity to kind of say something personal to the donor in a very short format that's easy to digest. It's going to be a lot cheaper. It's going to be way easier on the environment, than doing your end of year letters, or just like a general letter that's very unpersonalized. Because letter personalization, you can do like their giving amount, whatever. Whereas like telling Susie that like, hey, I loved meeting you a couple weeks ago at our fundraiser. Thank you so much for coming to that. I really loved engaging with you. Maybe we can go get coffee, like, at the beginning of the year. Like, by the way, we're doing our end of year campaign. So I think we're going to see a lot more video fundraising. And I think those organizations that hop on it first, AKA our clients,
thank you.
I think they're going to see really great results from it.
I think so too. And what I love, one of the positive outcomes of the pandemic is we lowered expectations on production value. And so, it's okay that, we're just sitting here in normal shirts in our house, in your house, like and so it's we've normalized now the way that this looks, and
Yeah.
which also makes it so much more affordable to produce video content, because it doesn't need to be this whole thing.
We're literally recording this on Zoom right now. This is not, and we've got a ring light set up behind the laptop right now. This is not fancy. I think the hardest part of this setup was moving the Christmas tree.
Mhm.
Yeah, but this was easy.
Yeah.
Hi, but it looks cute
Mhm.
because we're cute.
Mhm.
Yours?
In addition to the Great Recession or resignation
Mm-hmm.
that we're experiencing right now,
Yep.
I predict that we will continue to see high turnover and retention challenges in our sector.
Okay. Why?
People are tired.
People are tired.
Well, and the pandemic really put life priorities into focus
Yes.
for a lot of people. And so even just like in our hiring process right now, we're seeing people make big shifts in their career,
Mm-hmm.
and even like taking a step back and saying, I'm coming off of a 6-month sabbatical and now I'm ready to re-enter the workplace, or I'm going to go into a 6-month sabbatical. Can we talk about a job after that? And so I think that, especially for fundraisers, we already had incredibly high turnover.
Right.
And so we saw, because we don't have enough fundraisers in our community. And so people really do just hop around about every 2.5 years. And I think that's going to get even worse.
That's an interesting prediction.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll be curious to see that one. I don't necessarily think you're wrong, but I'll be curious to see what that is. Okay, one of my predictions. Oh, yeah. Younger executive directors. Yes.
That's one of mine.
Okay, so I'm calling, long story short, many moons ago, I got my MBA, Master's in Business Administration, because I remember way back when I wanted to be an executive director when I grew up. Still don't know when that is. But I remember thinking to myself, okay, there's going to be this like huge like exodus of executive directors at some point. And so I just want to make sure like I'm at the top of that list. Don't worry, I'm not leaving anytime soon. But we're starting to see the exodus. And I think it's been really exciting to see like what sorts of new executive directors have been coming on into these positions, and what their backgrounds are. And so it's a double-edged sword, because on the one hand, Santa Barbara has been, has been bringing in executives from other cities, which is fine. The problem with that is that it shows that Santa Barbara and Ventura are not investing in their next generation of leadership talent.
They're not cultivating and building up.
No.
They're importing.
Yes. And so I'm very grateful for organizations like Leading from Within, who are trying to do this, and they're trying to build leadership skills within those people who may not be an executive director for the next 10 years or so within their career trajectory. But they're at least giving people who might become managers the skill set to actually grow into that type of role, but also still having mentoring for people who are executives that need to sharpen their skill set. So I'm grateful for leadership programs in general right now that are helping individuals in the nonprofit sector start to grow who they are and where they want to go. I think there is a very severe kind of like shortage of qualified executives within the Santa Barbara area, because this has been a 15 to 20 year like lack of upbringing and lack of just like mentorship within the sector. But I am actually really excited to see some people who have been program directors of development start to move into these executive director positions. I think that's going to have this really great, and I hate this term trickle down effect because it just like grates my soul, trickle down economics, but trickle down effect from the standpoint of, if we have people that are going into these executive positions that have this like great vision of what the industry can be and what it should be, and how staff should be treated, and how what a healthy relationship with the board actually looks like, I think we're actually going to see a really good change in the next 5 years. But I think one of my predictions for 2022 is that we're actually going to start to see more people retiring and more younger executives coming in.
Yeah, agreed.
It's going to scare the shit out of some boards, let me tell you, but I'm super excited.
Yeah, it's going to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like, and that's just the end of it. Change is hard.
Yes, even if it's good change, it's hard and it's scary.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's going to be uncomfortable. It's also time
Yes.
for it to happen.
Yeah. And I think the pandemic is again, one of those like pivotal points within our industry from the standpoint of it's allowing some executives a very graceful exit that they would not have otherwise had an opportunity to do, but it's also allowing some very exceptional talent to start to move in at this very, very interesting timeline on for most nonprofits. So yeah, prediction, younger execs.
Love it. Love it. My next prediction is that we will start to see the gap widen between what I'm going to call traditional workplaces and progressive workplaces.
Define the gap.
I think the biggest gap right now is getting called back into work.
Okay.
So these are companies or organizations who moved remote and now are preparing their employees
to go back,
to come back into an office.
Okay. What do you think the issue is going to be?
I think that employees are really committed to their own work-life balance and values, and will start to seek a match with their employer that matches those values.
Oh. So what you're saying is that just offering ping pong and snacks aren't values?
I don't like ping pong.
I don't either, but it's what companies do. That's how they create culture, is that they offer snacks and sometimes like some nice locally brewed coffee and some ping pong tables. But I do think you have an interesting point from the standpoint of employees are going to be more attracted to organizations, companies, regardless if it's for-profit, nonprofit, that actually have like very good core values and live to those core values versus living to the tchotchke, shiny glitter bullshit that actually does not help their employees be better. Don't get me wrong, free coffee is great. Does not make me a better employee. Is not going to make me feel protected at the end of the day. It's not going to help me be more productive.
Yeah.
No, I think that's a good prediction. Thanks. You're welcome. My next prediction. Oh, yeah, kind of goes with my younger execs. Board turnover. I think with younger execs, we're going to start to see younger people on boards. Here for it. I think we were talking about this a couple months ago at one of our Building Forward events, that millennials want their avocado toast, but they also have a lot of money. And so they should be serving on boards, because especially in Santa Barbara and Ventura, like there are huge, like the number of tech companies in the past 10 years that have come to Santa Barbara and Ventura County is ridiculous. But how many of these people are serving on boards?
None of them.
Like this many. Like maybe the C-suite people, but they don't want to do this. They can't serve on every board.
Well, here's a question.
Oh, yes.
I hate serving on boards. Do you think that we will start to see a shift in board operations, board standards, board culture?
Not this year.
Yeah.
Give it a 10-year timeline.
Yeah.
But give it a 10-year timeline.
Okay.
We'll come back in 10 years.
Okay.
For our 20-year anniversary.
Okay.
Great. Your next one.
I think this is the last one.
I think so.
My prediction. We're going to start to see this.
Okay.
Wages must rise. They must. And building on my prediction that employees will start to look for better cultural fits, better value fits, I think it's going to create a lot of movement, employee movement in our sector. And we just have to pay people more. It's not acceptable as a sector.
Right.
It's not acceptable to expect somebody to do the hardest emotional work for the lowest wage. It should be the opposite, because our sector does the hard work, and so we should be paid accordingly, and we should have, appropriate mental health support, work-life balance, because we do the hardest work.
Also, people in the nonprofit sector have fucking master's degrees, PhDs, and so don't tell me that they're not qualified, or that, that these are highly educated people. And so if there was somebody at any major tech company here in Santa Barbara with a master's degree or a PhD, they would be paid very handsomely because of that degree, would then bump them into position to do that. But, somebody in the nonprofit industry has a PhD, they're doing heart work. Good for them. Give me a break, people.
Give me a break.
Okay, my last prediction is a company prediction. I know. I actually think we're going to grow more next year.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, like I know that we just hired somebody. I know we've got another project manager position on the horizon that we're hiring for right now. I wouldn't be surprised if by the time we sit down next year that we're almost double our revenue again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think we can do that.
buckle up.
Buckle up, bitches. It's about to get hot. So that's my last prediction for 2022. It's been a wild ass ride for 2 years here at Visionality. This past year has been like absolutely exceptional. This was a lot of fun to do today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you for doing it.
Thanks for suggesting it. Thanks for watching it.
Yeah, thanks for watching it if you watch it. We're just recording it right now, so technically there's nobody here for us to entertain, just ourselves and Moose, who's still here in my lap. But other than that, thank you very much, Emily.
Cheers.
Cheers. It's been fun.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. We survived a pandemic and we grew and we paid very good wages and we're taking care of really awesome clients.
And really awesome employees.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh. We're good at this.
Yeah.
Thanks, friends.